Boredom is often treated as a harmless state, a simple lack of stimulation, but the Stoics viewed it differently. They saw every moment as an opportunity to strengthen the mind, refine the character, and act with purpose. To them, boredom was not simply a passive state. It was an absence of engagement with life itself. When the mind drifts without direction, it loses clarity and resilience. Every moment of life contains the possibility for thought, reflection, or meaningful action. In this video, we will explore 7 reasons why boredom has no place in a Stoic life. These are not abstract philosophical ideas. Each reason connects directly to daily practice and self-development. The Stoics believed that time is the most valuable resource a human possesses, and boredom is one of the surest ways to waste it. By understanding and applying these principles, you will replace moments of idleness with purpose, learning, and strength. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Time is the most precious resource. The Stoics often warned about the careless spending of time and the ease with which people surrender it to trivial distractions. Seneca wrote that people guard their property closely but squander hours without thought, forgetting that each passing moment moves life toward its end. Time is the one resource that cannot be restored, purchased, or reclaimed. Every moment spent in boredom is a moment lost forever, and each of those moments accumulates into a life either well spent or wasted. To the Stoics, each day was an arena for practice in judgment, speech, discipline, and action. They treated these opportunities as the essential work of living well, not as occasional exercises to be done when convenient. Even quiet, solitary moments were valued as chances to sharpen the mind and strengthen resilience for future challenges. In this mindset, no period of inactivity needed to be wasted. Instead of drifting into boredom, a Stoic would use a pause in activity to engage in deliberate thought, examining personal principles, reviewing past choices with honesty, considering the lessons those choices revealed, or preparing mentally for situations ahead. This habit transforms seemingly empty minutes into meaningful preparation, leaving little space for mental stagnation. This discipline begins with an acute awareness of the passing of time and the recognition that each moment carries weight. For the Stoic, this awareness is not abstract, but constant and deliberate. It shapes how they arrange their day, how they choose activities, and how they recover from distractions. The Stoic learns to observe the first signs of the mind, beginning to wander or sink into idleness. When detected, this drift is addressed immediately through conscious redirection toward something useful and constructive. Constructive engagement can take many forms. It may involve reading works that expand both knowledge and perspective, choosing writings that challenge existing beliefs and refine understanding. It may be the act of recording reflections in a journal to clarify thinking and identify recurring patterns of thought and behavior. It could mean organizing loose thoughts into structured, actionable plans that create clarity about what must be done. The practice might be deliberate stillness, a mental reset in which the mind is cleared of clutter so focus can be renewed with intention. It can also be the disciplined act of observing the environment in detail, noting aspects of the world that often go unnoticed, which strengthens awareness and patience. Stillness in the Stoic sense is never a void. It is an intentional and disciplined state in which the mind is fully present, clear in its focus, and prepared for deliberate action. This form of stillness is cultivated with the understanding that the mind must always remain in service of meaningful aims. It is a conscious safeguard against the gradual pull of mental aimlessness and a deliberate choice to avoid drifting into scattered thought. In practicing this type of stillness, the Stoic is not simply resting, but actively consolidating lessons, rehearsing principles, and aligning thoughts with deeply held values. This becomes a kind of mental training, where quiet moments are used to strengthen clarity, reinforce discipline, and prepare for the next action with precision. The habit of treating time as sacred creates a complete reordering of how the day is experienced. This change in perspective transforms the structure of daily life by altering the way every interval, no matter how small, is perceived and used. Moments that might previously have been dismissed as inconsequential or unworthy of attention are now recognized as valuable spaces for deliberate self-discipline and inner work. The Stoic learns to see each pause as a rare chance to reset the mind, reaffirm principles, and prepare for what lies ahead. In this way, the flow of the day is filled with moments of conscious practice rather than lapses into aimless thought. These intervals, whether a handful of breaths or several minutes, are approached with intentionality. They become structured pauses to apply Stoic principles, rehearse the correct response to challenges, and realign the mind toward virtuous conduct. Waiting in a store line can be an exercise in controlled breathing, a chance to straighten posture, release unnecessary tension, and recall foundational ideas that shape action. Walking to a destination transforms into mental preparation, anticipating potential difficulties, selecting the best course of action, and reinforcing the mindset needed to handle them with composure. Sitting before a meeting becomes a drill in deliberate focus, identifying the primary purpose of the discussion, arranging priorities in order of importance, and setting the mental posture required for attentive listening and measured contribution. These moments are not filler, they are training sessions for the mind, conditioning it to respond with clarity and discipline in all circumstances. Even the briefest pauses, when consciously used, become tools of development. They can be spent recalling philosophical maxims to reinforce guiding values, reviewing the lessons of recent actions, or rehearsing measured responses to challenging situations. They can be dedicated to refining observation, studying details of the environment to heighten awareness and patience. Through repeated application of this practice, no segment of time remains idle. Each is claimed for constructive use, ensuring that the day is a continuous sequence of deliberate actions that strengthen character, refine judgment, and maintain focus. Chapter 2. Boredom weakens the mind. A mind left idle drifts into restlessness, distraction, or dissatisfaction, which gradually weakens both judgment and resilience. The Stoics aimed to keep the mind sharp through purposeful engagement, recognizing that mental strength is preserved through constant exercise. When boredom is allowed to settle in, mental energy is squandered on trivial thoughts, unfocused imagination, and idle speculation. This ongoing neglect dulls reasoning, slows decision-making, and erodes the capacity to act decisively under pressure. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to remain vigilant, to keep the ruling part of the mind active, alert, and in alignment with reason. He viewed this vigilance as a form of constant readiness, similar to a soldier maintaining their weapons in perfect condition. A mind that is kept active is better able to interpret events accurately, avoid unnecessary emotional disturbances, and respond with actions that align with principles. He understood that a drifting mind opens itself to negativity, complacency, and self-indulgence, allowing impulses and unchecked desires to take control. Inactivity in thought weakens initiative, making it harder to act with discipline and clarity when unexpected challenges arise. The Stoics therefore made it a daily exercise to keep attention engaged in every environment, whether in the silence of personal study, the demands of official duty, or the unpredictability of social interactions. Avoiding boredom is not about filling every moment with noise or distraction. It is about cultivating a deliberate relationship with one's own mind so that thought remains purposeful and directed. This means selecting activities that sharpen intellect and broaden understanding. Reading philosophy refines principles by exposing the mind to tested ideas and moral reasoning. Contemplating nature expands perspective, reminding the individual of the order and vastness of the world. Writing in a journal clarifies thinking by translating abstract thoughts into precise language, helping detect flawed reasoning or hidden assumptions. Solving meaningful problems, whether practical, philosophical, or creative, develops adaptability and mental resilience. Even simple, quiet acts like carefully observing one's surroundings deepen awareness and train the mind to notice patterns, relationships, and subtle changes that might otherwise pass unseen. By treating every moment as a chance to train the mind, you protect it from the gradual weakening that comes from neglect. This protection is developed through steady and deliberate practice that is carried out in ordinary circumstances as well as demanding ones. The foundation of this discipline is built during routine moments, so that when moments of crisis arise, the mind already possesses the stability and clarity to respond effectively. A sharpened mind is quick to detect opportunities and threats, and it can evaluate situations without being clouded by impulse, haste, or fear. It applies judgment that is measured, objective, and grounded in principle. This steadiness comes from repeated exercises in attention, analysis, and self-control. Each time you resist a distraction, hold your focus, or evaluate a choice with care, you add strength to the structure of your reasoning. These small acts of discipline accumulate and form the mental endurance required for challenges of greater scale. A well-trained mind also resists temptations with consistency. This is achieved by practicing restraint in small matters long before more significant tests arrive. By developing the habit of aligning actions with values in minor situations, you create a pattern of behavior that naturally carries into more complex circumstances. The capacity to stand firm against fleeting impulses becomes part of your character. Such a mind finds meaning and purpose even in situations that others might dismiss as unimportant. This ability comes from long-term conditioning to seek out value in every experience, no matter the size or setting. It is built through countless moments of actively looking for lessons, identifying patterns, and applying principles, whether in moments of calm or in the middle of difficulty. This habit turns every situation into a form of training, reinforcing the idea that nothing in life is without potential for growth if approached with the right mindset. It develops the skill to extract insight from small events, to notice subtle shifts in behavior, and to connect them to broader truths. This ability grows stronger with repeated practice and a conscious decision to remain observant in all circumstances. It becomes second nature to look beneath the surface of an interaction or situation, detecting patterns that others might overlook. These skills allow a person to navigate both familiar and unfamiliar environments with greater understanding, adapting to changes quickly and with confidence. The mind learns to process not only the obvious details, but also the subtle cues that reveal deeper meaning. This quality encourages approaching each circumstance with genuine curiosity and determination, replacing passive observation with active engagement. The individual becomes skilled at linking present experiences to past lessons, using those connections to guide future actions with greater precision. Whether facing a complex challenge that demands strategic thinking or a simple routine task that requires discipline, the mind stays engaged, alert, and committed to improvement. The strength of such attentiveness is not built through rare or dramatic bursts of effort. It is the result of an extended, deliberate process made up of countless moments of consistent and mindful engagement with thought and purposeful action woven naturally into daily life. It develops through repetition, careful refinement, and constant reinforcement of focus. The smallest intervals of available time, those often dismissed as too short to be useful, are deliberately claimed and devoted to constructive pursuits. Whether it is a few breaths between conversations, the minutes before a meeting begins, or the walk from one location to another, each segment is used to strengthen awareness, clarify intentions, or reinforce key principles. Each of these intervals serves as a reinforcement of the habit of being present, directing attention toward meaningful objectives instead of letting it scatter. This creates a steady current of directed mental energy that shapes perception, decision-making, and action. Attentiveness becomes a practiced readiness, an almost reflexive orientation toward what is important, maintained without strain because it has been cultivated gradually and repeatedly through discipline. When this form of attentiveness is firmly rooted, it functions as a reliable compass for decision-making. It brings clarity when evaluating options, steadiness in setting and maintaining priorities, and discipline in filtering out distractions before they can influence judgment. It supports the ability to act with precision and confidence, even under pressure or in situations that are unfamiliar. A mind trained in this way avoids drifting into aimlessness, remaining engaged with meaningful work, thought, or deliberate reflection. This approach leaves no opening for boredom to establish itself. The mind is continually engaged in activities that expand understanding, deepen self-discipline, and reinforce guiding values. Every interaction, observation, and task is transformed into an intentional exercise in improvement. Each moment becomes an investment in better judgment, stronger character, and greater resilience. Such a way of living produces a mental and moral sharpness that endures through challenges, adapts to changing circumstances, and maintains clarity regardless of external conditions. Chapter 3: Boredom Blocks. Self-improvement. Self-improvement requires consistent effort and a willingness to direct energy into meaningful pursuits at every opportunity. Boredom is often a sign that attention and resources are not being applied toward growth. The Stoics encouraged deliberate progress in virtue, reasoning, and skill, understanding that small but consistent steps build lasting change. A moment spent feeling bored could be used to strengthen the mind, refine judgment, or develop practical abilities. The first step is to recognize that growth is not confined to formal study or structured training. It is found in the most ordinary actions, which, when repeated with intention, form the foundation for enduring improvement. These actions may be subtle in appearance, yet powerful in effect. It may mean learning a new skill that strengthens both the mind and body, practicing restraint and patience in conversation to build harmony in relationships, or reflecting carefully on a recent decision to uncover lessons for the future. Even the act of revisiting past experiences to identify patterns of success and failure is a form of training that strengthens awareness and decision-making. Even the choice to maintain orderly surroundings trains the mind toward discipline, clarity, and responsibility. Treating the maintenance of order as a daily practice cultivates consistency, attention to detail, and a habit of seeing tasks through to completion. Approaching even the most routine tasks with heightened focus and precision develops the capacity to stay present, resist distraction, and work with care. Each of these seemingly small efforts becomes a vital piece in the larger structure of self-development, laying the groundwork for a resilient and capable character. When you adopt the perspective that every experience is a teacher, boredom loses the conditions it needs to take hold. Each encounter, task, and situation is approached as a source of instruction, no matter how ordinary or uneventful it may seem. The mind is trained to search for lessons in both successes and failures, in interactions with others, and in solitary moments of reflection. Even seemingly insignificant details, when examined closely, can reveal patterns, connections, and principles that deepen understanding and strengthen judgment. Routine or repetitive work, which many view as tedious, becomes a valuable arena for training core virtues. It offers the chance to strengthen patience by remaining steady through monotony, to sharpen focus by noticing finer details that others overlook, and to build endurance by completing tasks with full attention until the very end. The Stoics recognized that every circumstance is an opportunity to apply and reinforce virtue, whether it is courage in moments of challenge, temperance in times of abundance, or justice in dealing fairly with others. By reframing these moments as opportunities rather than burdens, they become active components of personal growth. Adopting this perspective fosters a habit of continuous learning and meaningful engagement. The mind remains active not only in moments of obvious importance, but also during the quiet intervals of the day. This reduces the likelihood of mental stagnation and ensures that even periods of stillness are used productively, either for reflection, preparation, or refinement of principles. In practical application, this outlook requires the intentional creation of challenges that keep attention sharp and engagement high. When faced with a simple task, the aim is to complete it with exceptional efficiency, accuracy, and care for quality, treating it as an exercise in discipline and self-mastery. Quiet moments, instead of being left unoccupied, can be transformed into mental training grounds. These can include rehearsing your approach to anticipated challenges, visualizing the exact steps toward a goal, reviewing the principles that will guide future decisions, or mentally preparing responses to potential obstacles. By making deliberate use of these moments, you replace idle time with a continuous sequence of purposeful actions that build momentum in both thought and behavior. Each moment becomes a link in a chain, connected to the larger aim of living with discipline and direction. The accumulation of these small, intentional efforts creates a compounding effect, where each act reinforces the one before it. This ensures that no part of the day is surrendered to passivity or left without meaningful contribution. This consistent use of time creates a rhythm of growth that is steady and sustainable. The pace is not frantic but deliberate, allowing skills to mature, habits to deepen, and principles to root themselves firmly in daily life. As this rhythm strengthens, the transition between different activities becomes smoother, with fewer gaps that invite distraction. Even brief pauses are absorbed into the flow of purposeful engagement, preventing the mental stagnation that boredom depends upon. Each action, however small, serves a role in refining judgment. Making a careful decision in an ordinary matter strengthens the ability to decide wisely when the stakes are higher. Upholding a small standard of personal conduct prepares you to maintain integrity when under pressure. Completing a minor task with attention to detail improves the discipline needed for complex responsibilities. In this way, every action contributes to the steady sharpening of perception, reasoning, and decision-making. Alongside the sharpening of judgment comes the strengthening of values. By deliberately acting in accordance with your principles in even the most routine circumstances, you strengthen the link between what you believe and how you behave. This alignment builds trust in your own consistency, which in turn increases confidence in your ability to face unexpected challenges. The result is the gradual formation of a resilient character, one that thrives in both calm and demanding conditions. Such a character is not shaken by sudden changes, nor does it rely on external circumstances for stability. Instead, it draws strength from habits of focus, discipline, and self-control built through countless moments of intentional action. In this way, purposeful use of every available moment becomes not just a guard against boredom, but a foundation for a strong, enduring way of life. Chapter 4. Boredom wastes emotional energy. When the mind is not engaged in purposeful activity, emotions can drift unchecked, allowing small irritations to grow into disproportionate reactions and mild dissatisfaction to deepen into persistent unrest. In this state, boredom becomes fertile ground for impatience, frustration, and anxiety to multiply. The Stoics understood that emotional stability is best maintained when the mind is guided by reason and kept from lapsing into conditions where unproductive emotions take control. They saw idleness not as harmless rest, but as a space that can be overtaken by thoughts and feelings that weaken discipline and cloud judgment. Purposeful engagement serves as a safeguard against this drift, occupying the mind with activities that channel emotional energy into constructive directions. Physical exercise can transform restlessness into physical strength and renewed focus. Writing can take confusion, disorganized thoughts, or emotional turbulence and reshape them into clarity and insight. Acts of service redirect attention outward, shifting focus from self-absorption toward the well-being and needs of others, creating both a sense of connection and purpose. Boredom is rarely the complete absence of activity. It often masks the presence of subtle, yet corrosive mental states, such as restlessness, dissatisfaction, or a quiet drift toward negativity. A Stoic avoids this condition by intentionally filling time with actions that cultivate stability, gratitude, and understanding, knowing that the quality of the mind is shaped by the quality of its engagements. These actions can be as varied as studying a principle and considering in detail how to apply it to current challenges, practicing deliberate breathing to center the mind and regulate emotions, or revisiting personal goals to refine direction and renew commitment. Even in solitude, the Stoic cultivates emotional steadiness by choosing thoughts, reflections, and tasks that align with deeply held values. Writing in a journal to clarify intentions, reviewing recent decisions to strengthen judgment, or engaging in quiet observation to deepen awareness, ensuring that the mind remains a disciplined servant rather than a wandering master. By remaining consistently engaged in meaningful effort, you guard against the slow build of unhelpful emotions that boredom encourages and prevents subtle unrest from taking root. The mind stays active, scanning for opportunities to learn, refine, and improve, while the body is directed toward intentional and beneficial effort that supports both physical and mental well-being. This steady rhythm of action strengthens the connection between thought and purposeful movement, creating a sense of forward momentum that carries through each part of the day. It helps regulate mood by providing a clear structure for attention, reduces the likelihood of impulsive reactions by reinforcing habits of measured response, and sustains a sense of tangible progress that fuels motivation. In this way, the emotional state becomes more balanced and stable, grounded in deliberate action rather than fleeting impulses. Resilience deepens as the mind and body adapt to a lifestyle of continuous, meaningful engagement, becoming capable of withstanding both minor disturbances and significant challenges without losing composure, clarity, or the ability to respond in a manner consistent with principle and long-term purpose. Chapter 5. Boredom erodes discipline. Discipline is not built in isolation. It develops through steady reinforcement in both major and minor actions. Boredom undermines discipline by creating gaps in focus and leaving space for distraction and complacency. The Stoics considered these lapses as wasted opportunities, moments that could have been used to sharpen the mind, strengthen the body, or align actions with principle. When the mind is left without purposeful engagement, the structures that support discipline begin to weaken gradually and often without immediate notice. Routine tasks start receiving less care, small errors are overlooked, and personal standards drift downward. The connection between intention and execution becomes less consistent, leading to delays, unfinished work, or actions carried out without full commitment. The Stoic avoids such decline by deliberately shaping each day so that every moment is assigned a role, whether it is devoted to learning, reflection, deliberate physical activity, or contributing to others in a meaningful way. This structure ensures that attention remains active and direction is maintained. Maintaining discipline requires approaching even the most minor responsibilities with complete attention and a sense of responsibility. The care with which a person sweeps a floor, organizes a desk, or writes a short note often mirrors the level of precision they will bring to complex challenges. Consistently applying focus to these smaller moments strengthens the underlying habit of carrying commitments through to completion, making it more difficult for carelessness or apathy to gain ground. Each well-executed action becomes both a reinforcement of personal standards and a form of training for larger tests ahead. Practical application begins with identifying the points in your routine where boredom tends to lead to distraction or passive activity. These moments are the most vulnerable to weakening discipline. Once identified, they can be replaced with deliberate and constructive alternatives. Substituting idle digital scrolling with reading that deepens understanding of your work or values keeps the mind engaged. Using short breaks for posture correction, controlled breathing, or quick mental reviews of goals helps anchor focus. Breaking large projects into smaller, clearly defined milestones keeps progress visible and energy consistent, while also preventing the overwhelm that can lead to procrastination. This system of conscious replacement ensures that discipline is preserved, fortified, and expanded through repeated and deliberate practice. By continuously filling the day with purposeful actions, the mind develops a habit of engagement that does not depend on external motivation or artificial urgency. This cultivated self-direction allows a person to maintain momentum even when conditions are quiet or tasks appear small. Over sustained application, the ability to focus, exert consistent effort, and uphold commitments becomes second nature. These are not temporary states, but embedded traits, integrated into the way one thinks and acts in every situation. Such qualities form the foundation of intentional living, where each decision, no matter how minor, reflects a deliberate choice aligned with values. The consistent exercise of discipline in small matters strengthens its presence in larger challenges, creating a dependable reserve of self-control that can be drawn upon at will. This depth of reliability ensures that personal standards remain steady in the face of changing circumstances, and that the capacity to follow through is unaffected by mood, environment, or external distractions. In practice, this means there is little room for lapses in attention or careless shortcuts, as even the smallest loss of focus can begin to weaken the chain of discipline. Each segment of the day, no matter how brief, is treated as a resource to be directed toward constructive ends. Even transitional moments, those pauses between tasks, the few minutes before a meeting, or the short walk from one location to another, are shaped into opportunities for deliberate action. This can take the form of reviewing immediate and long-term goals to keep direction clear, adjusting posture to maintain physical readiness, practicing measured breathing to center the mind, or mentally rehearsing the next step to ensure smooth execution. This constant attention to the quality of action reinforces the link between purpose and behavior, strengthening the habit of intentional living until it becomes the natural default. By actively claiming and shaping each minor opportunity for constructive engagement, Whether it is a short pause, a routine duty, or a moment of reflection, the discipline being built becomes more resilient and deeply rooted. The mind learns to remain alert and engaged without dependence on large or dramatic events, using even the smallest windows of time as training grounds for precision, self-mastery, and resilience. These deliberate acts, repeated across many situations, form layers of disciplined practice, each one reinforcing the next. By embedding discipline into the fabric of the day in this way, it becomes a constant and reliable presence rather than an occasional effort to be summoned under pressure. This continuous thread of attentiveness guards the mind from drifting toward passivity, intercepts unhelpful impulses before they develop strength, and ensures that each choice remains anchored to guiding principles. The day takes shape as an unbroken sequence of purposeful, deliberate decisions, each one supporting and amplifying the others, creating a sustained rhythm of focus, self-control, and alignment with one's values. Chapter 6. Boredom weakens purpose. Purpose gives meaning to action, direction to thought, and clarity to decision-making. Without it, activity can lose its depth and drift into mechanical repetition, where tasks are performed out of habit rather than conviction. Boredom often signals that a person has stepped away from their guiding aims, allowing daily work to lose its connection to a larger vision. The Stoics taught that purpose is not static. It should be revisited and refined regularly so that it remains clear, compelling, and firmly rooted in virtue. This ongoing process ensures that actions stay aligned with a moral and meaningful framework rather than being carried along by chance. When purpose fades, motivation loses its force. Tasks seem heavier, decision-making becomes hesitant, and attention begins to scatter. Without a strong aim, the mind drifts toward trivial or reactive pursuits, lowering the quality of thought, judgment, and effort. For the Stoics, this represented more than a lack of concentration. It was a serious barrier to living well, because life without direction risks being consumed by distractions and impulses. Sustaining purpose requires a deliberate balance of reflection and action. Reflection maintains clarity by bringing the mind back to its core values, while action tests and strengthens those values in the unpredictable conditions of real life. This ongoing cycle ensures that life remains oriented toward goals greater than temporary comfort, convenience, or amusement. Purpose must be actively engaged with both in thought and in deed, so that it remains vivid and influential. Practical application involves setting aside regular time to define, refine, and reaffirm your purpose. Write it clearly, translate it into specific and measurable goals, and create daily practices that steadily move you closer to fulfilling it. Use quiet or transitional moments to evaluate whether your actions align with that purpose. When they do not, make precise and timely adjustments rather than allowing drift to continue. This habit keeps purpose active, shields it from erosion caused by inattention, and strengthens the habit of self-correction. When purpose fades, motivation loses its force, and the structure that supports consistent effort begins to weaken. Tasks take on an unnecessary weight, making them feel burdensome even when they are simple. Decision-making slows, often becoming hesitant or uncertain, and attention begins to fragment. Without a strong aim to direct it, the mind drifts toward pursuits that are trivial, reactive, or purely distracting. This gradual shift lowers the overall quality of thought, dulls judgment, and weakens the resolve needed for sustained effort. To the Stoics, such a state was not merely a lapse in concentration. It was a serious barrier to living with virtue, as life without clear direction becomes vulnerable to being consumed by external pressures, impulses, and unexamined habits. Sustaining purpose is a deliberate process that demands both sustained introspection and consistent outward application in daily living. Reflection serves as the anchor, ensuring that the mind habitually returns to its core principles and long-term aims, examining them from multiple angles to deepen understanding and strengthen commitment. This ongoing engagement prevents those aims from becoming abstract or distant concepts, instead keeping them immediate, vivid, and connected to present choices. Action serves as the proving ground, where those principles are tested under the pressure of unpredictability and the varied demands of real life. Each challenge faced with integrity reinforces purpose. Each obstacle navigated with patience refines it, and each decision made in full alignment with values strengthens the bond between belief and behavior. The interplay between reflection and action forms a continuous and self-reinforcing loop, each part sharpening and validating the other, ensuring that life remains guided toward goals of enduring significance rather than drifting toward comfort, distraction, or fleeting interests. Practical application begins with establishing and protecting dedicated time for the deliberate review and refinement of purpose. This means writing it down in clear and concise language, breaking it into specific, measurable, and achievable objectives, and identifying the precise skills, habits, and attitudes required to meet them. These objectives can then be translated into daily practices, structured so that each small step contributes to tangible advancement, even if progress appears incremental. Such steps might include habit tracking, scheduled reflection periods, or focused skill-building sessions. Quiet pauses, transitions between activities, or the early moments of the day can be used to briefly evaluate whether actions remain aligned with guiding aims, making the most of moments that might otherwise be overlooked. When misalignment is detected, corrections should be made promptly and with accuracy, avoiding the slow drift that can erode clarity and weaken direction. This rhythm of review, action, and adjustment forms a habit of self-audit that not only preserves purpose but strengthens it by embedding it into thought patterns and daily conduct. When purpose is strong, it influences every layer of decision-making, shaping even the smallest and most routine choices into meaningful contributions to a larger vision. Routine tasks cease to feel like mechanical obligations and instead become essential, deliberate steps in a continuous path of progress. This perspective closes the space in which boredom can take hold, replacing it with a steady and balanced rhythm of meaningful engagement and proactive attention. The mind stays anchored and alert, aware that each moment, whether filled with decisive action, careful preparation, or mindful reflection, is an indispensable part of a greater whole. Integrating purpose into the smallest details of life fosters a profound sense of continuity, stability, and alignment between thought and action. Actions begin to flow more naturally and efficiently toward the fulfillment of one's highest aims, while the link between intention and execution grows more direct and unbreakable. The result is a life in which purpose is not reserved for rare or defining moments, but is woven into the very texture of daily living, providing both a constant source of direction and a sustaining energy for every stage of the journey. Chapter 7. The Complete Engagement of Life. A life free from boredom is one in which every moment, from the most significant to the smallest, is approached with deliberate intention and awareness. The Stoics recognized that the mind functions at its highest capacity when it is consistently engaged in actions and thoughts that serve a meaningful purpose. This does not mean filling every second with activity for its own sake, but rather cultivating an ongoing habit of presence and deliberate choice. It involves seeing value in the full spectrum of life's moments: work, rest, reflection, and even seemingly mundane tasks, because each can be aligned with personal principles and long-term aims. When the mind is clearly directed, even moments of stillness take on meaning. Rest is not a passive state, but a conscious practice aimed at restoring mental and physical energy, reviewing guiding principles, or preparing for the next phase of effort. Reflection during these pauses can clarify recent actions, reinforce important lessons, and identify adjustments needed for greater alignment with values. Because every period of time is seen as contributing to preparation, practice, or execution, wasted time is minimized. This steady engagement strengthens self-respect, as a person can see that their days are being used in a way that builds skill, discipline, and character. To cultivate and maintain this level of engagement, it is necessary to clearly identify your core values and design your daily structure so that each task, responsibility, and interaction supports those values. This involves balancing active effort with periods of thoughtful stillness, ensuring that both movement and rest serve the same overall purpose. Transitions between activities should be approached deliberately, allowing the mind to reset and direct full attention to what comes next. The smallest choices, how you greet someone, how you arrange your workspace, how you respond to an unexpected delay, have an influence that carries into larger outcomes, either strengthening or weakening the habits you are building. Practical application can take many forms, each designed to strengthen the habit of deliberate engagement. Enter conversations with the clear objective of fully understanding the other person's perspective, listening without interruption, and asking questions that draw out clarity. This develops both attention and empathy, qualities that improve relationships and sharpen the ability to respond with precision. Approach simple household or workplace chores as structured exercises in maintaining order, improving efficiency, and refining consistency. Even something as routine as organizing a desk or cleaning a space becomes a controlled test of method, care, and focus. Use moments in transit, whether walking, commuting, or waiting, as opportunities to strengthen memory, enhance observational skills, review commitments, or mentally rehearse upcoming responsibilities. These otherwise overlooked periods of time can become valuable spaces for preparation and reinforcement of priorities. By deliberately shaping such moments, you create an unbroken thread of purposeful activity that prevents mental stagnation. These actions may appear minor when viewed individually, yet their true influence emerges when they are sustained and repeated across the rhythm of daily living. Each one becomes a deliberate investment in the cultivation of discipline and intentionality, forming a chain in which every link strengthens the others. This structure ensures that there is no disconnection between the smallest habits and the larger goal of living well. The careful execution of small behaviors builds consistency, while the awareness of their connection to greater aims reinforces a sense of purpose. Over time, this integration of micro-decisions into a larger vision produces a life that is both ordered and resilient. Even the way you sit, walk, or arrange your surroundings can serve as a quiet reinforcement of the principles you choose to uphold. This ongoing alignment between small-scale conduct and higher objectives acts as a safeguard, ensuring that progress is steady and cumulative rather than dependent on occasional bursts of motivation. In such a framework, every decision, whether during movement, stillness, or transition, plays a functional role in shaping the life you are building. Movement becomes purposeful and efficient, stillness becomes restorative and reflective, and transitions serve as moments to reset intention and prepare for the next task. Nothing is wasted because each segment of time is given a role that contributes to the preservation and strengthening of personal standards. Even moments that might seem too brief to matter, a pause at a doorway, the time waiting for a page to load, the walk from one place to another, are used as opportunities to practice presence, reinforce awareness, and maintain alignment with principles. When life is approached with this level of attention, boredom has no opportunity to take hold, because every stage of the day is consciously claimed for a meaningful purpose. The mind remains continuously engaged, shifting with ease between purposeful action, restorative rest, and thoughtful reflection, with each state serving as a vital link in a seamless cycle that sustains the same overarching aim. These phases do not exist in isolation. They are deliberately connected, so that no part of the day feels fragmented or without direction. This continuity of focus enhances readiness to face challenges with composure and confidence, strengthens the ability to recover from setbacks without losing momentum, and ensures that long-term direction remains sharply defined. It removes the sensation of drifting and replaces it with a steady, deliberate rhythm of engagement in which each choice, no matter how small, contributes to an enduring sense of progress and stability. The result is a daily existence where meaning permeates even the smallest details and where the boundary between routine and purpose disappears. Value is not limited to major achievements or rare milestones, but is embedded in the way each moment is approached, the care given to each action, and the awareness carried into every choice. Every decision reinforces purpose, every action aligns with principles, and every interaction, whether with people, objects, or ideas, becomes part of the deliberate creation of a well-lived life. Even the way one handles interruptions, unexpected challenges, or quiet intervals is shaped into an act of discipline and intentionality. This approach transforms living from a sequence of isolated events into a continuous and unified act of intentional construction, ensuring that no moment is without its role in building strength, clarity, and virtue, and that each day contributes to the steady shaping of character and the fulfillment of one's highest aims.